All right. All of you freedom loving boys and girls, Mark Centerline Systems. And and I'm not muted this time at the beginning of my own live stream, like I do all the time over on Mission Critical Podcast. Hey, tonight's episode is brought to you by Mission Critical Podcast. Hey, as always, just kind of just marking time just a little bit until we get a handful of people on here. It looks like we got a couple right now. Going to talk about our Mother Canteen Carrier. So even though we've got a second generation of it, we still call it the Mother Canteen Carrier. And I'll explain a little bit of that in a second. Hey, I think what I'm just going to do is I kind of, as become my little thing here, just to stall for a couple seconds, is I just want to talk about, how easy it is to tear each other down and how easy it is to criticize. I've just been seeing a lot of that recently in our world. And it just kind of always amazes me. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, like this, for example, or any of my videos, or, me as a person, whatever it is. If you don't like it, don't like it. You don't have to watch, just move on. But it's so easy. And I'm just seeing how people are just so, well, that's bullshit. And you're this and you're that. And you're just like, wow, man, what the heck is going on? Mike in the Woods. How you doing there, sir? Thanks for chiming in. Just pop that up. Just a little hello. It's evening where this fine gentleman is, apparently. Yes, I know it is evening over there. All right. Hey, we got a handful of people here, so we're just going to kind of jump into it, and kind of just talk about our Mother Canteen Carrier. So my intent here was to not to do a loadout video. We've done plenty of those, and I'll probably do one here again in the next month or two. I'll do another loadout video. The weather's kind of turning here. We're going to have hopefully we'll have a nice spring this year. Normally there's still about 4 feet of snow and it's sub-zero weather, but not right now. It's like probably 50 degrees outside. So anyway, the Mother Canteen Carrier. How did this just come about? So, whether, I know some people don't like canteens or don't like canteen carriers because they say they're scary and they're military, whatever. But so I was in the military, whether that's scary or not. I was in the military, and my very first duty station. And before I mention how this all started, I'm going to say I'm willing to bet the actual history of what I'm about to say, because I don't know, but I'm willing to bet the actual history probably goes back to Vietnam, and it probably resides with a MARSOC or a LURS unit, like a long, somebody who did reconnaissance or special operations. A lot of this stuff was going on. But so my very first duty station was 101st Airborne, which is an air assault unit. And so, after I go through air assault school and all that kind of stuff, I met my very first line company. And one of my NCOs, who probably learned it from one of his NCOs, who learned it from one of his NCOs, all the way back to, again, I'm assuming probably Vietnam, right? But they told me, so this is a strobe light, right? This is just a military strobe light, right? It can be infrared or you can expose it and then it's visual. These are really good visual signaling devices as well for obviously, we're using infrared. You're marking a landing zone or a medevac or a location, but you could just imagine it from your perspective as, hey, you're out there and, now you've got to somebody's doing search and rescue. Having something like this might be a way that brings the attention of the rescuers to you. So anyway, so we had these strobe lights, and my NCO, if you remember so this is a Mother Canteen Carrier. It's going to be a bad example. I bet if I dug through some of my bins, I could get an old canteen carrier out. But the old canteen carrier was vacant, and it had one little pouch for your water purification tabs. So my NCO, when I first got there, is like, hey, take your strobe light pouch, go to the guy off base. He's going to rip the pouch apart. And you're like, what, Sarge? I'm going to have to pay for that. And it's like, yeah, that's right. But CFF is going to make you pay for your gear anyway, because, it'll be dirty when you get it. And when you give it back, they'll say it was brand new. So anyway, go take your strobe light pouch, rip it off, and then sew it to the front part of your canteen carrier. And now you've got a pouch. So your strobe light, which we needed and we used a lot, imagine helicopter landing zones, rescue, all that kind of stuff. So you would have that there, and then it was always there, and you didn't have, and it took up one less space on your deuce gear, your rolling gear. So that was a great idea. Now, fast forward, gosh, what was this? And if anyone there can remember, but we got Gene from across the pond. Woo! Ludwig Booth, thank you, sir. Sweet. And then Mike D, love my canteen carrier. So if anyone can remember, I think we've been making the Mother Canteen Carrier for, it's 2024 right now. I bet that was about 2016 when we came out with the Mother Canteen Carrier. Yeah, circa 2016 is when we did it. And when we first came out with it, this is what it was, right? So this is the original Mother Canteen Carrier. You can kind of tell the difference on the originals versus the new Modus because there was only two. There we go, eyeballs. You can see one up here and one over there, and then down below, and then on the opposite side right there. There was only two connection loops. But how this kind of happened, so, giving you the Genesis, our strobe light pouch, so sewing it on the outside. I was sitting down talking to Jason from Lester River Bushcraft and George from Puco Cutlery one day. And the question came up about canteen carriers. And at the time I was making, our everyday carry belts, our Thor system, and our gear rolls. And there were some people making canteen carriers out there. Obviously, there's been people making canteen carriers since there was a need to take a vessel and put water in it and then carry it around with you, right? So that's been going on forever. And so I sat down with Jason and George, and I'm not making this up. You can talk to those guys; they'll back me up if their memories still serve. But on a napkin, I just took a napkin and I started sketching out. Well, here's what we used to do with our military ones. Here's what I want to do here. Jason had a good point. Well, make sure you put tie downs on the bottom so people can put their gear there, et cetera, et cetera. And then the Mother Canteen Carrier was born, right? So that's kind of how it all came out. The military. So again, I know everybody wants to dog the military and, oh, that's so military looking and canteens this and canteens that. I'm like, okay, there's so much gear that you use and drive around in. That's the result of the military. I don't know what to say. If you don't like canteens, see our Scout water bottle carrier, that works too. But so that's kind of all how it all started, right? So I used to take my old canteens in the military. We'd take our strobe light pouches apart, have somebody sew them to the outside, then you could put your strobe light there. Then one day, two great guys were bugging me, dude, you really need to make this. And I always love that. when people say, you know what you need to do? My response is always, yeah, I need to get new friends who are going to help me, as opposed to telling me what I need to do all the time. But, hey, da-da-da. And I sat down and I sketched it. I'm like, well, here's what I would want, here's what pocket. So why not make a larger pocket, and then side pockets, that's just wasted real estate on the side of the carrier if you don't have a pocket. So, on the Mother, and the same with the Modus, there's two side pockets and a main front pocket. And then there's an internal slip pocket. And I'll show you that in a second over my Modus. But that's kind of how the Mother Canteen Carrier was born, how it kind of came about. Oh, and then at the time, the shoulder straps were just plain. There was no extra webbing or options for shotgun shells or loops to attach any of your other gear. It was just plain. And that's what we did for probably about 3 or 4 years. I don't know if anyone's got any questions on that right now. Feel free to chime in. These live streams, I'm trying to do them for you guys too, right? If you got a question or if you want to learn, and I think that's what I'm going to do is like the little behind the scenes stories, maybe little contests every now and then, that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, all right, well, let me just jump into it. So we had the Mother Canteen Carrier going, and I've got a lot of European, and Asian customers as well. And so this is the Crusader. I think some people call it the Osprey, but the Crusader canteen cup system, from the British mill. Actually, I think it's used by a couple more militaries other than just the UK. So if you're Dutch or wherever you're from, and if you use these guys, I apologize, but I just really knew this back in the day as a British one. Does a mess kit fit? Well, so Mike, there's a question, and I'll give me a second there, and I'll let me just talk about this, and then I'll come back and I'll address your question, sir. So I had a lot of people asking if this fits, just like Mike is asking me if the mess kit fits. So I had a lot of people asking me if this fit. And the bottom line is it didn't fit, right? This is just a little bit too large on the width side of it. And then that's what led to and brought about the Modus, right? So the Modus is really still the Mother Canteen Carrier. It's just the second generation, right? So we made it larger so it would accommodate not only this Crusader, which a lot of people had asked about, but at that time, and this was what, 3 or 4 years ago now, before the recent unpleasantness. And there was that new squared off, a standard USGI canteen is more teardropped, kind of looking, right? Like this, right? And so there's that more squared off edges that's out there now, made of titanium. There's a bunch of companies, it's being manufactured overseas, and then they're getting their logo on it. So don't just think it's this guy or that guy. There's a bunch of places where you can get them. But that was coming out at the same time. And as a result of that, and you can go back and see the videos, that's where should we make a larger Mother Canteen Carrier? And I still get people to this day saying, yes, you should. And I'm like, thank you. We already are. And on that note, so it was overwhelming. A lot of people said, yeah, not only yes, but hell yes, right? And then I guess a little inside baseball, the moment we did that and the moment we perfected it and got it so it would fit that newer style canteen, the Crusader, and then your standard USGI style, whether that's a heavy cover titanium. There's a couple companies that make stainless. And then in that Mother I had down there, that was just a, is that a Nalgene or is that a, no, I can't remember who that is, but that's just a plastic canteen. Maybe that is Nalgene who makes that. Anyway, so there's a bunch of different companies that make these canteens. So the moment we did that and made the Mother, now the Modus, we originally were calling it the GCC. We were going to run the Mother and the GCC and let you guys pick and choose. But the simple fact was the moment we introduced this larger one, I bet sales went to probably 95% for the GCC version or the Modus. And so, as a small business, it's like, well, look, do I just keep cutting both patterns and all that, or just stick with one? 90% of people, 95% of people wanted this at that time when we were throwing it out there for questions and comments. So, on that note, and then I'll come over to some questions here, answer Gene and Mike here. Yeah. So once we just started, it was hands down, we were selling the GCC. So we just combined it and just called and look, and I'm not going to lie, selfishly, we had the Mother Canteen Carrier going for years before we thought about the GCC. And that's, SEI, right? So I want that for my website. And if people type in the Mother, I want them to still find the Mother Canteen Carrier. And this is just the Mother Canteen Carrier on steroids. And we'll get to that in a second. I'll show you. Because my little saying, seriously, just with this over your shoulder, not even talking about attaching anything to the bottom, but just with this over your shoulder. And I ain't saying it's going to be the Hilton, but if you can't survive, well, again, I guess it depends what kind of physical condition you are. If you've been mauled by a grizzly bear, then you might not survive 3 to 5 days because you might bleed out. But you get my point. If you get lost in the woods, or just some small minor type of thing, with the amount of gear you can carry in this thing without even putting anything down below, it isn't going to be the Hilton. I'm not saying it's going to be super comfortable, but you can definitely survive 3 to 5 days if you know what you're doing. If you keep your head about you, keep your cool. Take a breath, shway, take a breath. Everybody always thinks you got to do something immediately. Man, in my limited experience, for what it's worth, okay, here's what we're going to do. Man, that can make the difference, and it can calm everybody down and keep everybody from panicking, because fear and panic is a killer. All right, let's kind of go over here a little bit. Gene from across the pond. It's great knowing the history and the thought behind your gear makes me want to buy more. Why, thank you, Gene. And I will gladly make more for you, sir. And then Mike in the woods, does it fit a mess kit? So that's kind of why I wanted to pause before I got to that, Mike. So I know there's a couple different mess kits out there. I don't know if you want to tell me specifically, but I will just say this: heavy cover has a mess kit and it doesn't fit. And the only reason it doesn't fit, let me grab this Crusader as an example, is because on the outside of that mess kit, and I've seen it. I actually tried putting in, somebody who had one sent it to me so I could know one way or another if it did. And I'm just not a big mess kit guy myself. You do you, right? But no harm, no foul. If you like them, you like them. But there's a bail out here for the handle, right? So there's the bail and then the handle kind of connects into it and then it comes up and over. That bail is seriously, it's like a 1/4 of an inch. It puts, on both sides, it makes it like a 1/4 of an inch too large to fit in the Modus. It used to be called the GCC. If you don't care, you could break those bales off. I don't know why you would do that. Better to have and not need than need and not have. But then it would fit in there if that's the heavy cover one you're talking about. I personally, again, I know there's a bunch of other stuff going on out there. I don't know because I don't have that piece of gear. So I wouldn't be able to tell you there. The Swedish M40, Mike, I don't know that one either. Just, not making excuses, not punting. I guess I would have to know the dimensions and you could always shoot me an email or shoot me a picture of it, and or I can go and look it up myself too. And maybe I'll be better prepared for when I do this video again in about a month or two. I'll do this as a big, more longer loadout type of video, and I'll do it outside as opposed to the studio. That's a good question. Swedish M40. I don't have the answer to you right now. If anyone else watching knows or owns a Swedish M40 mess kit, chime in. I personally don't know. And please don't anyone be offended by this. Look, there's so much gear out there, and I have my own little, I've got my rule of thumb about our gear. It's got to be mil spec, made in America, or Berry compliant. But on the other part of that is I'll get people saying, hey, what about this company? What about that? And they'll send me pictures. And if you're one of those people, and if you've talked to me, I'm just like, I don't want to see anyone's pictures. I don't want to see what anyone else is doing. I'm not one of those guys who's out there copying other people's designs and other people's gear. And hey, you know what? They can do that if that's what they want to do. And if you're familiar with the Mother Canteen Carrier, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You might even know exactly who I'm talking about. But you do you. This is what we came up with. This is our creation, right? And this is what I'm standing by. And I don't follow I don't follow a lot of companies simply because I like living in my little bubble, because I know with 100% certainty the things that I'm making, they're the brainchild of my twisted, distorted, getting old and rattled and feeble brain, right? So I just like doing my stuff. So, but on that M40 mic, I'll get back to you on that. I know I've got your email, sir. So I can look into that. I got got Liam. Hey, Mark, do I not look like I'm doing all right, Liam? I feel like I look, I showered this morning. Is my beard unkempt? I think I'm doing all right, but thank you, Liam, for your concern. And then I got Mike in the Woods. Yeah, that's just another company that sells one, whatever, you do you. Look, and on that note, I'm going to plug my gear. It's my live stream. It's my gear, my channel. I'm very proud of it. Again, that the military, mil spec, made in America, Berry compliant, and then our craftsmanship. And then, hopefully sometimes our customer service. I think I do a pretty good job, but I'm kind of a knucklehead, but that's it right there. If you want to go buy some cheap ass stuff made overseas that supports a communist country and doesn't care about its labor, hey, you do you. I'm not dogging, I get it. Money's tight for everybody all over the place. I totally understand. But on that note, if you're going to go down that road, then just, know that you are getting gear and this is what you're doing. So again, I'm not going to criticize you. Don't criticize me for making American gear, right? I mean, it is what it is. You do you, but I don't want to trust it. Every time I go out in the woods, especially again, now that I'm old and broken, every time you go out in the woods, Mother Nature gets to dictate. You can bring the gear and the mindset and the training, but there's that other element called Mother Nature and everything that entails that has a say in what your experience is going to be like. I would like to put my faith and my trust in my experiences, my training, my capabilities, and the capability and quality of the gear I'm using. I'm not going to just randomly or, just willy nilly, just going to put myself at risk when I could take some steps to avoid that. All right. Now Liam's giving me saying my beard looks a bit grayer. Well, okay. All right. It is because I'm getting older with each passing day. All right. Back on a couple other little things I wanted to talk about I think that kind of covers everybody's questions. Yeah. Yeah. And again, if you got a question, plug it back in there again. But Mike, I think I got it, but I'll reach out to you via email about that Swedish M40. I'm just not familiar myself. I don't know it. But on that note, again, if anyone else does know, leave a comment. What was really nice about the SRDP videos, that survival rifle deployment pouch, is there are so many platforms, and I didn't even know half of these things existed. I mean, the whole takedown rifle community is just totally blown up. I don't want to say it that way. That's why I'm stuttering. It has really gotten much larger and it's expanded since I knew it, from like the 1022s back in the day. And there's so many different platforms, and you guys and gals are so cool. I got a great education out of that. And I think a lot of other people were able to learn by a lot of the comments. So same thing here on that. All right, I got to throw this out there just so some people say, yeah, all the gear in Murphy's Law still kicks your rear. That's 100% correct. So the one thing you can always be prepared for is something that you're not prepared for is going to possibly happen. Hey, before I kind of do, and again, I'm not going to do a little loadout video. We've got a bunch of those, but I am going to show you some things about it that maybe you didn't see in some of the videos. Maybe it's worth bringing back up and just some ideas here. Well, first, actually, let me go back over to the, let me just go back over to the shoulder strap. So on the shoulder strap now this is mine, and this has got shotgun shell loops on it out of elastic. The normal shoulder strap comes with much larger loops of just 1 inch 17337 webbing, right? This is an if you don't pick the shotgun shell loops, this is an add-on. Then we're going to, just throw the 1-inch loops on there. And then the other thing is we kind of do a mirror image. If you do everything in Coyote Brown, well, then those loops would be Coyote Brown, but you can pick and choose what color you want these loops. So on my configuration, you can see the webbing itself is multicam black because I really like this Ranger green and multicam black combo. But if you noticed up on my loops, now this is also partially because we don't have multicam black elastic for shotgun shells. But the real thing is, whether this even was 1-inch loops, we want to create like a mirror image. So these loops up here will be the same color as the Kadura. So this is Ranger green. So we do Ranger green loops up here, unless you specify otherwise. We make it so that what it kind of looks like up on top is what it kind of looks like down below. So you get a mirror image on the same thing right there. That's the shoulder strap. One last little thing on the shoulder strap. This is still an option. We did this a long time ago for about 6 months, and not quite a year. It didn't go over as well as I thought it would, or people didn't quite get it. There was a little bit of an issue here too. So up here on the top, those are the chasm buckles. Now they come off, but they are hard to get on and hard to get off. There's a reason for that. But if you don't want these here on your pocket flap, because you want your pocket flap, see, because they're flat, they're a full thing on the bottom, and it creates a little bit of rigidity. But if you don't want that, I can put split bars there. And the moment we go to split bars for the shoulder strap, I can also go to a male and a female end on the shoulder strap. And what that would provide you is now your shoulder strap in extremis can click into itself. You could use it as a sling. If you broke your arm, you could wrap it around a tree a couple times, click it together and hang things off it. You could even use it as a belt if for whatever reason you needed your belt for something else, or your belt broke or whatever. So in extremis, you could do that. We don't do it that way anymore, but if anyone watches this video, if that's something you're interested in, all you got to do is reach out and let me know, and we'll figure it out and make sure you understand fully how that works and what it looks like, and et cetera, et cetera. Then on the shoulder strap, though this is a separate product, I'm just going to throw it in here. Here's what they are. These are our pads, right? So these are our padded strap wraps. So we've been making the Mother for about, I don't know, 3-4 years. And I had a lot of people asking for a pad. And if you're like me, you've had pads on all kinds of computer bags, messenger bags, things of that nature. And I've just never liked those pads. They always move around. They get into, the shoulder strap gets twisted. It doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. It never seemed to be effective. And my thought was, well, look, there can be a lot of weight in here depending on what you load out, but come on, it shouldn't be that bad. So my initial thought was, well, just take an old t-shirt or a towel, wrap it around your shoulder strap, tape it in place, and then now you'll have a really good pad there for your shoulder strap. But I was, I was pretty much, I had a lot of people asking, hey, you got to make a pad for this. So we came up with the padded strap wrap. So unlike a normal pad, your shoulder strap fits in here. And I probably shouldn't have put that shoulder strap down. Give me a sec. Oh, see there, you got to enjoy all the old man noises I make now whenever I'm moving and bending. But I just want to be able to do this so you can kind of see it. So when the shoulder strap goes into the padded strap wrap, it rests where those reducers are, right? And that really locks your shoulder strap in place. Not only that, but all of that space in between. And if you know what I'm about to say, you know what I'm talking about. You can put tons of cordage in here, filtration straws, lickies and chewies, things that, you can flatten out and have over a period of time. So now it's not just a pad up on your shoulder. It's a pad where you can store a whole bunch of extra gear. And even though your shoulder strap, well, here, I'll just grab this one. Even though your shoulder strap would be inside of it, it still has, you can do the same thing. Just the regular large loops for attaching items to, or the shotgun shell loops for attaching items. I'm going to take a quick pause here. Got a couple more questions or comments. All right. Speaking of belts, I've been wearing the belt you gave me a lot more often now. I really like it. Thank you, sir. I'm glad you appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that. So padded strap wrap, that's an add-on if you want to have, and again, it's not just a pad. You can connect items to it, and you can store items inside of it, right? That was the whole point, right? If you're going to have it, better to have it, not need it than need it and not have it. So why not make it, multifunctional, work across a whole spectrum of areas, right? Put extra gear in there that, oh, I don't normally need this. Now I do have a video where I had a ridge line in there. You could stick a ridge line, S-roll a ridge line in there, connect it on the outside. You could walk up to a tree, wrap your line around it, click it in place with like an S-beaner, or even like, I'm trying to think of it. I've got someplace. They're little, they're Night Eyes makes them, but you wrap it through a certain way and then pull it and it holds itself tight. You could do that and then just walk back to your next tree and your line is just deploying out, behind you through your padded strap wrap. Get to the next tree, pull it tight, do the same thing. Boom, ridge line set up just like that. So I have a video out there on the padded strap wrap showing you that, and we'll do another one of those this year because it's been a day since we've done it. Final thing I forgot, I almost forgot to mention as we're coming up on the 25-minute mark. So we had two sizes of shoulder straps in the past. Like the regular shoulder strap was for somebody who is just under 6 feet tall, a normal kind of size person, 5'6" to 6 feet, 5'4" to 6 feet type of thing. And then the extra large was for anyone who was over 6 feet, over 250. So again, you might be wearing this where you've got on multiple layers of clothing. So you're going to want to have a lot of that, ability to extend it out, come back in on it. Well, then we kind of came to realize, hey, really, there's a bunch of you great men and women whose kids are wearing these things. So and then Cindy, she's not here to punch me or hit me with a 2x4. So I'll throw her under the bus, and she's like all of about 4 foot tall. So we made a short one now too. So you got a shorter shoulder strap now available to you for the little ones or the little people like Cindy. And then you've got just call it the regular, for the quote unquote average height, 5'6" to 6 foot type of person, couple layers, under 250 pound, couple layers of clothing, and then 6 foot and above for height, or if you're adding way more layers of clothing, or if you're a little bit more robust, like daddy here is getting. So you might want to go to the extra large. But if you got questions, as always, on any of that stuff, just give me a holler. One last question, then we'll move on to the next section. Mike in the Woods, ever done a loadout video of the Sherpa belt and Y harness? Yeah, we've got a couple Sherpa and Y harness videos, and that is also on my little list of the videos I got to keep working on. So we're kind of getting into a new cycle. So that will happen. Stay tuned. I think in even just my last video, even though it wasn't a loadout video, when I was talking about our everyday belts, I had my Sherpa belt, which is, and my Y harness, that's what I run when I'm hunting, and it's still rigged up the way it's always rigged up. So, but yeah, we'll do that. I think the weather's getting a little bit better, like I said, and the studio, videos are good for some stuff, but now that the weather's getting out there, it's better just to do that stuff outside. I think so anyway. And it gives me a good excuse to get outside, as opposed to not that I don't mind sitting here talking to you guys in front of a camera, but being outside is kind of nice too. All right, a little tip. All right, because I get some people asking me about this. There's nothing I can do about gravity. If I could invent anti-grav technology, well, I guess I probably still would be sitting here doing stuff, but my studio would be like, $1 million studio or whatever, because I'd be a multimillionaire if I could invent, a technology that defies gravity. So when you're wearing this on a shoulder strap, if you lean one way or whatever, gravity is going to want to pull it and it's going to want to move. And I know that can be annoying to some people. So here's two little tricks that you can try. Let me just get this more out of the way. One of them could simply be, have this over your shoulder and then have a buddy or something. Don't go through the last of the mollies. Run this over your belt, or behind your belt, and then bring it back over and snap it. So now your belt would be running through here. That's going to help prevent it from moving around a lot. What I do, and to this person's point, who the last person who gave me a hard time about it, I came up with this years ago, when I was out, like working on my trails, either with my chainsaw or my weed whipper. I just took a keeper, ran it, where I wanted it to be on my waistline, sat and I figured it out. Okay, that's going to work really good there. And then with the little S-beaner, right? Then an S-beaner dangling. Then whether it was up on my shoulder strap, one of the side pockets or whatever, I could just connect it to my mother. And then so that's there. And that really helps prevent it from moving around. If that's something that, if you're wearing this and you are doing a lot of like bending down, a lot of movement at the waist or at the knees, type of thing, the hips, it can move on you, right? That's gravity. So you got to find a way to lock it into your waistline, either to a belt loop, around the belt, or some other structure on your side. And that's just one little technique. You could do this with the shock cord that we use for our hanging tags, the shock cord and the shock cord keeper. Grab some 550 cord, and then again, either little carabiner, one of those night, well, this is a night eyes S-beaner. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can prevent or you invent anti-grav technology and then share it with me so I can make your Mother Canteen Carrier like that. So gravity doesn't affect it. Yes, sweet. All right. Sorry. I don't know. I'm just being a knucklehead today. Man, these Monday videos are going to be tons of fun because it's just like, what the hell's going on? So on that note, let's just have a quick little contest. I know I did one a couple videos ago. We're going to do one down and dirty real quick. It looks like we got 12 people. I don't know if this ticker's ever correct. I don't know if that's just showing me who's on YouTube as opposed to Twitter, X, or Rumble. I'm not 100% sure because everything looks like it's ScrewTube right now. But anyway, wherever you're watching this, you should be able to leave me a note. Right? We've tested that this works. So everybody get ready. This is going to be fast and fierce. They're all going to be like that. All right. And the prize is going to be one of these padded strap wraps. So I've got one in black with all black, one in multicam black and black loops with Ranger green, multicam classic with coyote brown, and then the one I was just demonstrating, woodland with Ranger green for the loops, right? Whoever gets this, and this is going to be whoever answers first. Well, and answers first correctly. I'll give you guys one of these padded strap wraps. All right, here it is. What does the AR and AR-15 stand for? Or you hear everybody say AR. What does AR stand for? And I'll pause. Let's just see who gets it. What does AR stand for? Do insert the sound of Jeopardy. Do, 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 do. Hey, don't get me a copyright strike. So far, I got no answers. Nobody. Negative Mike in the woods. That's what everybody assumes. That should be a clue for everybody. That's why I wanted to throw it out there. Everybody always says that. That's not what it stands for. All right, we might not get a winner. Boom. All right, Bug Out XJ 2001. Yep. But Kookbra, you got it as well. But Bug Out got you first. Bug Out XJ. Bug Out XJ, sir or ma'am, whoever you are, send me an email, mark@center-line-systems.com. That's also on the contact page on the website if you don't know it or can't find it. The website is CLS, short for Centerline Systems, clsgear.com, mark@center-line-systems.com. Shoot me an email with your info and tell me which one of these bad boy padded strap, which one of these padded strap wraps you want. Preferably not one that I'm just throwing on the ground and kicking around for you, right? So yeah, shoot me an email, and there you go, padded strap wrap for you. Thanks for playing, and thanks for everybody else, Kookbra and Mike. I did that intentionally, Mike. I hate to say it, but that was a setup. I set it up because that's what everybody thinks, and that's not the truth. And we should be able to speak the truth and know what we're talking about, right? One other little thing to show you about. Well, actually, maybe two things. So on the Modu, you've got 3 of these loops attachment points, and you can use them, however you want. I run a Chemlite through mine. You could run a ferro rod through there. But the other thing is, whether it's my gear or somebody else's gear, but if you've got a single MOLLE column pouch, that's another thing you can run through there, is just run the MOLLE down through that. And I've got a couple pictures up on the website of exactly this. Matter of fact, they're not my pictures. Our photographer, who's awesome, Alex Messenger Photography, he took some pictures of it up in the Boundary Waters, kind of set up like this. Now, he did it differently. You could weave it through differently because, when it comes through the mother, like your pouch is going to hang down a little bit, low. There we go. So, but there's, you can add other items there, right? It's, you do you, whatever you want to do. And then on that note, I think the last couple things I wanted to show, because I'm not going to do a load up video. We'll do that when the weather's a little bit better. And I've got a bunch of them on the video or on the website right now. But 2 other points I wanted to kind of make. So this rear slit pocket, right? So that is for your canteen cup lid. Maybe you've got like a folding little stove, like an Ember Lit, a Nano, or a Fire Ant. This is Purcell Trench. This is a little grill that he makes over at Purcell Trench. That fits in there. So we kind of tweaked that. So Orange Dog Scout turned me on to these things. And I got one of those, and it was, well, we're going to tweak this a little bit because that guy is just perfect and that fits in there really nicely. So just another little thing to think of, that rear slip pocket gives you, I think really, I'm going to end it on this. You've heard me say it a million times. If you just want a canteen carrier, well, then just throw it in your rucksack. All right. You're throwing everything else in your rucksack, or throw it in a sock and then throw it in your rucksack. I don't know your physical capabilities. I don't know what your outdoor skills, your survival skills are, your mindset, X, Y, Z. There's so many variables, but really the amount of gear that you can pack in here, like, it gives you at a minimum here. Maybe I should just be more fair and say it this way. It gives you a damn good fighting chance to make it through that 3 to 5 days. You should be able to do food, fire, water, shelter. If you want to do shoot, move, communicate, medicate, you've got options in there too, or 10 C's or whatever acronym that you're going to use. You can get that stuff in here. And then, again, to include, and I've seen a lot of people doing this. One of my last little kind of points. This actually works a little better when you run the Molly through all of the rows. I'm just going to do this so you can kind of see it, but that's a slot. I didn't mean to flip anybody off. That's a little slot right back there. So I've seen a whole bunch of people, and this wasn't my original idea. I got it from somebody else. They'll run their Mora knife or their knife in there, and you can do the same thing on that inside rear slip pocket. So, depending on how you're wearing this and how you're carrying it, I personally, I've got my knives. I usually put them up on my shoulder strap, but that's just another carrying option that might open up your shoulder strap for storage of something else, another unit, another item. Or if you're running shotgun shell loops, maybe you're just putting shotgun shells up there, right? So it's just another little option I just wanted to throw out, right? So that rear slip pocket, canteen cup lid, small stoves, because maybe you live in a place where you've got a lot of burn bans and you got to use the stoves, or, some type of grate, whether it's something that you're making, or if you're going over to Purcell Trench, or some other company and buying that stuff. And I do apologize all the way back to Mike in the Woods. Yeah. Or I think it was Mike. Did you ask me, sir, about the mess kit? So most of the mess kits that I know of, and I really only know of that heavy cover. That's the only one I've really touched in my hand with the Modu, and that won't work because of the bales. So I will look up that, that Swedish M40 for you, Mike. Was that Mike? Let me just go back here a second. Come on. Why won't you let me do it? There we go. Yeah, Mike in the Woods, the Swedish M40. And I'm just going to post it out there. Maybe somebody knows the answer to that while we're sitting here talking. I don't know. I have never touched one, never seen it. So I'll have to do a little bit of research and I'll get back to you, Mike. All right. And that is kind of ending our little podcast. Again, trying to keep these, 30, 40 minutes. I think we've kind of managed to do that so far successfully. Boom. There it is. All right. Bug out XJ 2001. Rock and roll. Send me an email and I will hook you up with one of those. You can pick whatever color you want. Definitely appreciate it. Appreciate everybody taking the time to come and join us on these live streams. I got another one coming on Thursday. We're trying to get a special guest for that. Just kind of like I did, 2 live streams ago, just, have somebody on for a few minutes to talk about either another issue or another perspective, something like that. We'll do that every now and then. And that'll be on, and we're going to talk about our G3. So again, a little bit of the origin story behind our gear rolls. How did I come up with the idea? What can they be used for? And et cetera, and then answer any questions. Alf 3553. Well, I finally made it. You're welcome, sir. We're just wrapping up. So, go back and rewind to the beginning. All right. Hey, that's it. Any final questions? I'll just give a quick pause. Tell the little story. 2 guys walked into a bar. That's about as most. That's really, I'm not really good at jokes. I actually have on my phone, somebody's been sending me jokes and I keep them, and I've got a little note of all the jokes that Steve has sent me. Maybe I'll have one of those for next time. I'll read one of Steve's jokes. Someone named Paul saying, I can test the M40 mess kit. Are you asking? I don't need to test the kit. I want to make sure see if it fits inside of a Mother. Paul, while we're sitting here talking, do you have an M40 mess kit, Paul? And there might be up to a 2-minute delay sometimes on where you're talking from. But, Paul, honestly, maybe I'll see it before we wrap this up, because I don't want to go much past 40 minutes. So, Paul, also as well, shoot me an email, because if you have an M40 test kit, one of the first things we can do is measure, but I'll probably want to talk to you on the phone, but talking ain't doing. So if you've got one and you're here in America, no offense to somebody else, who made an offer. And then I realized, oh shit, that's going to cost me like $100 and some just to mail this to you and back. So, but yeah, for, someone here in the States, I can always send one down, do some field testing with a return envelope. Paul, that's what I was tracking that you're seeing if you could see if it fits. So you have one. All right. Well, Paul, shoot me an email as well. Mark at center-line-systems. Maybe throw a phone number in there and then we'll just sit and talk. And if, we can look at, if we measure it and right away we determine it doesn't work, well, then I'll throw that information in with the not the next live, but the static video I'll do on a loadout for the mother in a month or two. And then if we think it's going to fit, or it looks like it's going to fit, I like confirmation, right? I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, well, that'll just happen. No, let's actually confirm it and make sure. And then, and then do positive handshakes, confirming that you understand and I understand X, Y, and Z. So I'd rather do that. So Paul, yeah. Well, don't post your personal info. Shoot me an email, Mark at center-line-systems, just so, you do you, but I wouldn't want you to put all your personal info out there unless you were going to just actually take one. And then if you've got a mother and then test it and then let everybody know in the comments, that would equally suffice as well. So I appreciate it, Paul. One way or the other, you got the intent. And then thanks to everybody here tonight who joined us. I hope you found that kind of, not necessarily informative, but a little background. Here's how we make it. Here's what went into it. Here's the thought process. You could hear me laughing. Most people, like, there's a lot of people in this community, who like, oh, it's military, I don't like canteens. I'm like, that's like saying you don't like penicillin or canned food. I mean, like, yeah, I don't like bombs falling on my heads, but there's but there's a lot of other stuff from the military that, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater type of thing, but you do you, as always, you do you. We also make a bottle carrier, right? So, if that's your preference, we make a Scout water bottle carrier too. All right. I think that wraps it up. I'm laughing at myself for being such a knucklehead sometimes. Gene, thank you from across the pond. Big woo. Liam, thanks for giving me a hard time about how gray my beard looks. Ariada. And then thanks to one more time to, well, both to Kukbra and to Bug Out. But Kukbra, Bug Out beat you. So Bug Out, give me a holler and we'll hook you up with a padded strap wrap. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up, you guys. We'll see you again on Thursday. Might have a special guest, and we're going to talk about the G3 gear roll. Until then, if you got questions or comments, reach out anytime. I'll do the best I can to help you out. You guys know that. And if I apologize, if I made it sound like I don't like people calling me at 3 in-the-morning, that was correct. I don't like people calling me at 3 in-the-morning, but you can call me Saturday, Sunday. I'm usually working most of the time. I work late, stay up late. So, just don't do it at 3 in-the-morning. All right. But any other time, don't be offended. Like somebody's like, oh, I got the impression you don't want it. Not at 3 in-the-morning. That's why I said that. But hey, reach out anytime. I'll do the best I can to help you out. Until then, everybody. All right. Bug Out. You got it. Thank you, sir. I just saw your comment come in. So, all right. Everybody else, the deal. Keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, everybody, be good. Right now, Gene, I want to hear you from across the pond. Woo! All right. See you guys. See you on Thursday.